Subscribe to our YouTube channel, News Now Nation, for in-depth interviews and press the bell icon so you do not miss any of our updates.
Hi guys, welcome to the News Now Nation channel. We're back with another episode and we're back with another serial entrepreneur. We're really excited to have Sunali with us today, and we're going to talk to her about her journey as an entrepreneur, but mostly about a company that she's recently founded called As You Are, which is a dating app that is created specifically for the LGBTQ community. We're really excited to have you on board, and we're really excited to discuss your journey as an entrepreneur and as somebody who has started such an interesting business. So thank you for taking the time.
No worries, my pleasure.
So just to begin, if you could tell us a little bit more about, okay, before we start with As You Are, maybe you could tell us a little bit about, you said you're a serial entrepreneur. So the various initiatives that you've taken up, the ventures you've undertaken, and how that sort of led to the company that we're going to talk about today.
Sure. So it's been a long journey, but I'll try and cut it short. I started my professional career in a very small firm, and purposely because I wanted to understand how small companies work. And I always aspired to have my own company at some point. And that gave me very good exposure. And I would recommend everyone to go and work with a small company, at least in the beginning of your career. It gives you a hands-on experience on doing things and not just saying, okay, this can be done or that can be done. So you get hands-on experience on doing things, you get to know a lot of things. And that kind of helped me with my next job, which was at Bharti Airtel. And there I was in the projects team. I helped them build their countrywide intranet. That was a major project, but because I had this exposure earlier on, it really helped me in this job. And then after that, I worked as a consultant with a few startups in the UX and CX domain. And thereon, I think I started taking up consulting assignments. I set up a small team for myself to help me. But I wasn't really an entrepreneur at that moment. I didn't think of myself as an entrepreneur. I was just doing things as they came along, So there was no plan as such in place. There was no vision, nothing that kind of drove me. It was just financial independence that I wanted. And that's something that, kept me going. But I think my exposure with MobiKwik, setting up MobiKwik, was one of the major things that happened to me in my life in terms of learning about startups, learning about how to set them up, having a vision, having a mission. Although I didn't stick to that for very long, but that kind of really helped me understand what entrepreneurship is all about,
Mm.
And after that, I focused on my own design agency where I kind of applied this knowledge of, and that's when I truly felt like an entrepreneur. I was going after people, chasing them for projects, doing sales, doing business development, and but again at a very small scale. So the other thing that I learned was that when you have to jump scale, like go from a smaller to a bigger scale project, that's another different kind of thinking that you have to kind of develop in yourself. Um, and I struggled with that. So I was a small time entrepreneur. I wasn't a big time entrepreneur. And that journey again, was something that I was always keen on completing, which I couldn't. But then around that time, I had another uh, product idea, which I kind of worked on, which was Bibo, which was a e-commerce platform where you could just come and set up a e-commerce store. And but again, learnings are basically that if you're doing something, if you focus on one project at a time. And I focused on this project plus my design agency. So, and then I chose design agency over Bibo, and it kind of didn't pick up or didn't do too well. So every project needs a lot of attention. One cannot say, okay, it's a tech product, so it'll happen on its own. It's a complete business. So when you set up a product, you're not just setting up a product, you're setting up a business. So it has its own nuances, it has its own challenges. So one needs to dedicate a lot of time to that. So I don't advise people doing too many things at the same time. Focus on one thing at a time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry, I agree because you mentioned one thing you did mention in the very beginning was that you didn't chase a big firm. You wanted to work with a small firm because you felt that would give you more exposure, and that is often something that, especially in this generation, people are running behind gigantic firms because they want fancy names on their curriculum vitae, and that sort of real exposure sort of you lose out on it. So that's really interesting. And you also mentioned that starting an entrepreneurial journey isn't as glamorous as it goes out, as it seems to be. There
Yeah.
are a lot of
Yeah.
challenges, and it's not just product development and all these fancy jargon words. It's real work that comes with its own set of challenges. Right, I'm sorry I interrupted you, please continue.
Oh, and the major challenges are not just so everybody has these. Everybody can come up with great ideas, and I believe people come up with very good ideas, but the challenge is actually convert them into an actual product.
Correct.
That's a huge challenge in itself. Then running that product, then sustaining that product, then sustaining the team for that product. All of these challenges you come across one by one. But because I'd gone through these things in my life already, so when I was setting up as you are, I could envisage all the problems that I would face. So, and I was ready for them. So nothing came as a surprise to me. When somebody was ready to leave the team, I was like, okay, that's fine. I wouldn't get hassled.
Correct.
Because I know it has happened to me in the past.
Yeah.
And small teams usually face the retention challenge also,
Yeah.
so it's very difficult to retain people.
I think what you said
And
was your experience sort of made you a little more thick-skinned and
yeah,
allowed you to deal with the challenges any company would. You also spoke
absolutely.
about ideas and how there are a lot of great ideas. And I actually am somebody who believes that a lot of companies who are extremely successful and doing great work aren't fundamentally like brilliant ideas. They're just great execution. I want to ask you though, how did the idea for your company as you are, how did it come? I mean, obviously there is a need, but there are dating apps that exist, and there are dating apps that also allow the LGBTQ community to meet people. In fact, I watched one of the videos where you spoke about a statistic where, in fact, most people in the LGBTQ community meet their partners online. So, how did this idea come about, and what was the problem that you were trying to solve?
Those are global statistics. So 56% of the people globally meet their partners online, but those are global statistics. When it comes to India, there's a different statistics that apply. So about 93% of the people are closeted. 93% of the LGBTQ community is closeted, and our understanding of the LGBTQ community is very limited. So our perceptions are very limited. Our whole thought process about them is limited. What all the apps are doing is LGBTQ is an afterthought. So it was designed for heterosexuals, and then LGBTQ happened. So they started including them. It's not for them, they are included in that process,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Barring app like Grinder, which is completely dedicated to the community. But if you go to an app like that, you would feel a little, you would feel that it's a very hypersexual environment,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and that they are just there to hook up. So, they're not there to have conversations or to discuss or to discover, but it's primarily hookups. And
Correct.
it works for them. That's their model. It works well for them. If the app is doing well, nothing against it.
Correct.
But there's a whole market, or let's say there's a whole space for people who just want to connect one-on-one
Absolutely.
with like-minded people from
Correct.
the community. Like I said, our understanding of the community is not complete.
Correct.
It's very um, based on, let's say, oh, I saw this one person, or two people or three people. It's based on that. But if you look at the community as a whole, there's a lot. It's very diverse, and it's like they have different needs, right? So
Absolutely.
you need to build products for them,
Correct.
understanding their needs. So we did, before we launched the app, we did some research, and what we realized was, unless we actually go and launch it, we will not get the first hand feedback that we are looking at. We will not understand how people are using it. We will not understand what to build for them. And that's exactly what we did. So we did a proof of concept early on, where we tested, okay, is there a need? And we realized that yes, there is a need. And then we built an MVP of the app, and then we launched it. And thereon, we kind of, whatever innovation, or let's say whatever product, let's say features that we've developed with the community, with based on their
Wow.
feedback,
Yeah.
based on understanding of what they want,
Correct.
um, I'll give you an example. When I started this app, my understanding of trans community was very limited. You know, I was very hesitant to kind of launch this app for the trans community because I didn't want to offend anyone. I felt I had very little knowledge, but we still went ahead and did it, and we got a lot of feedback saying that okay, this is not how it should be. You can correct this, do that, and I think people were very helpful. So they took it very well. So so that's how we built on what we had launched. So we then continuously kind of built it. We ran into some financial problems also because tech products called for a lot of investment. So the first 1.5 years was completely bootstrapped. I put money into the app myself, and then thereon, okay, we managed to raise some funds, but that first leg of it was a little difficult to sustain. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, that is a difficult journey. And you know what you said about limited understanding, because, like you said, the community, we club it all in one, LGBTQ, but it is very, very diverse. And there are people who are part of the community also who might not know or have enough knowledge about
Yeah,
other
that happens.
factions of the
Yeah.
community. And even somebody like me who tries to, research and be aware and educate herself, I know there are certain things that I may say or I have said in the past that now in retrospect are inappropriate or problematic, etc., etc. There is so much that is still, to be learned, and there is a huge faction of the country that doesn't want to learn also. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there are a bunch of problems that come in. Um, I wanted to ask you that since you developed this and built it along the way, um, I would love to learn some of the challenges that you faced. Again, considering it's such a diverse group and considering that you have to sort of club it all together, and not because of you, but because society clubs them together and their journey to find love sort of together.
Hmm. So there were a lot of challenges, Mishri, because like I said, when you're building a product, first building a product itself is a huge challenge. Like how to build it, then going about it. It's a tech product, so you have to rely on other people to build it. The moment we started building it, lockdown happened. So we had to build it remotely completely. We had to manage the entire team remotely. We still a remote team. So this is my first startup which I've built from day one. It has been remote. So
Wow.
that was one of the new things probably for me, that I'd built the entire product remotely.
Hmm.
um, the second challenge is people hesitate working with you, because their understanding of the community is very little. And they perceive you like, we don't know these kind of people, or we don't know what they're going to do, kind of a thing. So they think of you as shady. And so um, uh, there was this resource I was trying to hire. She said, I don't mind it, but my husband might not let me work on this. And then there was this HR agency that we wanted to hire, and they said, no, we can't hire for you. So outright,
Outright discrimination, basically. Yeah.
yeah, outright discrimination. And but that made me stronger. I think that made me, you know, feel that this has to be done. One way or the other, we have to do this. So there were these perceptional challenges. Raising funds was a challenge because a lot of investors said, we don't understand the space.
Yeah, and there is
Uh,
inherent homophobia. So
the inherent homophobia, and they refuse to fund it. I mean, I don't have anything against them. Maybe they didn't see a lot of
absolutely,
value in what
yeah.
we were building. I don't have it, but I could also sense a lot of homophobia around this.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so there've been challenges all along, from, and also hiring. Like I said, hiring has always been a challenge. Then I never used to talk about the product for a very long time because I didn't know how the other person would take it. But now I'm very vocal about it. So
Yeah.
that's a change
Yeah.
that I've experienced. But it's good. I think I like it now. I think all those struggles, all those challenges, uh, have I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now, because of
Correct.
which, kind of.
Correct, correct. I mean, I have to say, I think you really would have had to have some thick skin to deal with such, outright, I mean, in any case, in any sort of, when you have to raise funds, when you're any sort of minority, I'm sure there's some sort of discrimination that comes into play because we're all conditioned to think in certain ways. We've all been brought up in the same societies. And like you said, nothing against anybody who has certain biased perceptions because like you and me have our own biased perceptions as well, but it is frustrating, and I cannot even imagine the level of thick skin you've had to develop to continue the company through lockdown and through everything that has happened.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is incredible.
yeah, yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the team, and like you said, hiring resources is difficult. But you also, because this company is so centered around the LGBT community, you want to have adequate. I would assume you would want to have adequate representation of the community within the management, because of course customers give feedback and all other stakeholders give feedback, including random people who are hating on you probably. But another stakeholder and another important way to get feedback, and I think one of the most efficient ways, is the internal team that you work with. Is
Sure.
there a policy that you have in place, or is there a strategy that you have in place to ensure that there is adequate representation of members of the community in the working team?
We don't have a strategy as such, but we always prefer to hire from the community because that keeps us real and grounded in all aspects.
Yeah.
Um, so like we're still a small team, so we can't just say no to people. If you're getting a resource, we would hire that resource for the work that they do.
Correct.
Um, and if they're open about it, they're not homophobic, then it's all good. Like I said, it's we don't have a particular strategy, but I would prefer to hire more and more people from the community because going forward, one of our missions is to help community become more financially independent. Um, and we were just discussing, the team was just discussing about that, how to leverage, basically how to help the community leverage their skills.
Brilliant.
Um, so my preference is always that. But like I said, being a small team, we cannot, sometimes we don't have the luxury of choice.
I like how the bar is set at not homophobic. Uh, it is a fairly low bar to have, but I understand where you come from. And in India, there is a bias. There is no doubt about it. And a lot of people are, you said 93% of the people are closeted. There are also people I know, including friends and people in my circle who are partly closeted. That means they're out to me and they're out to friends. Some of them may be out to their family or certain members of their family, but I don't think I know anybody who's out in their workplace.
Mm.
In their workplace, it's almost like it's unprofessional to talk about it. So to have a workplace that is sort of keeping that, and the fact remains that you are creating employment for that community. So I think that is brilliant, and making them financially independent is also brilliant. So if, just as a heads up, if anybody is looking to apply for a job at As You Are, and if they're watching this interview, what should they do?
So they should just write to us. They can reach us at hello@asyouare.in.
Yeah.
We're always looking for people with tech skills. We're looking for people with marketing skills, content writers, and if you need help with the job, we are very well connected with the community, so we can help you get a placement also. On our community portal, we have a job board as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have a job board. So if you are looking for a job, you can go to the job board. Or if you want to publish a job for the community, you can reach out to us and we will publish it for you.
Brilliant. We're going to put all these email IDs and website links in our description so you all can check it out. You mentioned, circling back to something you said earlier, you spoke about Grindr and how it is hypersexualized, which it is. I think a lot of the photographs that are uploaded on the public portal would qualify as porn, for the lack of a better word. And again, no hate to that business model. That business model works and it gives people what they need. But dating apps in general have a tendency to hypersexualize themselves, even if sometimes they try not to. I would say most dating apps are still looked as primarily spaces to hook up, and which is why a lot of people, and including me, I'm somebody who's guilty of that. I like, oh my God, if I'm on a dating app, I'm going to, it's too much. I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I feel like just by the nature of it and by the nature that, oh, you're looking for love, it sometimes it's a very slippery slope to become a very hypersexualized space. Is there anything that you as a team are doing to prevent that from happening?
So we learned about this, let's say, in our way. Like I said, we launched the MVP and then we started learning a lot about the space also itself, and also about people and how they respond to the space. What we eventually realized is that dating is a space where photos work. Photos are the primary,
Absolutely.
let's say, component. We try to keep away from it for a very long time. So the first app that we launched had no photos. So you were supposed to just write about yourself, and that's how people would identify you, or would choose to connect with you. But later we got a lot of feedback saying that, okay, if I start building a connection with someone and then eventually I don't like their photo, what do I do? So it's like it's it's also a difficult situation,
Correct.
right? So I think then we start with one photo. So okay, one photo. So but now we allow more photos, right? But we don't pressurize our users to put photos. So let's say you can be a verified profile without a picture, because we'll verify you on the back end with your selfie and all of that. On the front end, you don't need a picture, right? So
Correct.
your profile can still be verified that
Correct.
this is a genuine person and this is a genuine profile.
Correct.
But it's the dynamics of this space that people want to look at pictures before they chat with. So they don't want to show your picture, but they want to look at other person's
Absolutely.
picture. It's like, that's how it works. But yes, photos play a major role. And a lot of people who are closeted are not comfortable with photos, putting out their photos. And that's another reason we built the community platform. So now we have a community platform also in the app, where we felt that, okay, people who do not want to connect over pictures or, in the traditional dating way, may discover people through conversations, right? So we have conversations around various topics, right? So that becomes a discovery mechanism for them, right? So if they're interested in a certain topic, they can go there and see other people who are replying to that topic, who are discussing that topic,
Mm.
and then they can reach out to them.
Mm.
So we felt that because everybody, let's say, in the LGBTQ space, people are at a very different point in their journeys, right? So your journey starts from discovering yourself, coming out, um, meeting people. So you could be closeted, not closeted. So you are at different phases in your journey, right? And we've now decided to go and meet you where you are in that journey, right?
Mm.
Instead of saying, this is the only way you can meet people, we are
Correct.
saying, okay, we will create more and more avenues for you to meet people the way you want to, right?
Correct.
So you can just be as you are and meet people.
Yeah, that's brilliant, and I think relevant also, because there is danger associated with coming out. It is not just, oh, I'm not comfortable opening up. There are real actual dangers that are associated with it, including sometimes people get kicked out of their families. People
Yeah,
go
yeah,
through a
that
bunch of
happens.
things that are not nice, including but not limited to hate crimes. So that is extremely important, and I think sometimes people want to also hide their name. A word that you use a lot in your branding and is something that sort of stood out to me quite a bit, was the word safety. And there was a lot of use of the word that, these are verified profiles and it's all going to be super safe. In what way is the platform, apart from, the things that you mentioned, how is this platform so super safe?
So we've never said super safe. Okay,
Okay,
we
that
say
is my
safe.
sorry.
So we say safe, and the way we are trying to make it safe is that, let's say, we allow verified profiles to see other profiles, but unverified profiles cannot see verified profiles, right? And the way we verify profiles is through manual verification. So we'll ask for your basic details, we'll then ask for a selfie, and then we'll match them, and we'll see how genuine your details are, and then we approve you. And we've rejected 6,000 profiles so far on the app because they weren't genuine, right? So they'd posted selfies of somebody else, or all sorts of things. And so we've rejected. So we have a very strict rejection policy on the app, and that helped us avoid a lot of spam early on.
Mm.
Now there are so people may not want to get verified for their own reasons, right? They don't want to share their selfie, they don't want to tell us that they're on this platform, which is fine. But in that case, then they get to only see unverified profiles, right? So that's how we try to keep the platform safe.
Correct. And people who are basically, I guess, people who are willing to verify themselves get access to verified profiles. And then I think also with time, as they are on their app, they get more and more comfortable in general with life. Also, they get,
Yes.
I'm
So,
hoping, assuming,
yeah, so our numbers, verification numbers have climbed a lot over these, 1.5 years. The numbers have, so initially only 10% users used to verify themselves.
correct.
Now 50% of the users verify themselves.
Wow.
So that's a huge change, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I think
I
it's
think all dating apps, I think nowadays claim that they verify their profiles, and a lot of them have these ticks and all. But we have, of course, seen multiple fake profiles. I think the fact that you take that effort to do that manual verification, which I'm so sure is a time-consuming process for you, and
yeah,
I
it is. So like I said, no app is 100% there, So but we can say that our verification process is 95% there. So there's a 5% chance of us also approving fake profiles. There is a chance, but that's like that's there on all apps. So it's
correct,
like we're trying to cut that down even more, because
correct.
we've learned so much about profiles over a period of time. So we can look at a profile and we can actually say whether this is fake or not.
Correct. And but does this process, this intense process of verification of yours, does that affect scalability?
Uh, I don't think it will, but yes, at some point we will have to introduce AI to kind of do it for us. But the challenge comes with trans people, So the AIs are not trained to verify trans people.
Yeah,
So it needs human intervention. So we will do it as long as possible. We would want to do it. We are also building various other verification processes so that those processes are scalable. Um, and we will come up with those processes in next 3 to 4 months.
brilliant. Brilliant. Awesome. Um, I don't have any more questions. Anything else you would like to say about the company, about you before we close?
No, I don't talk too much about myself, but yes, about the company. I always love talking about it, and I think we're on a mission here to create awareness about the community, to create inclusive spaces, to build more confidence within the community about themselves. Anyone who is LGBTQ, I think they should not be afraid. It's all good. And if they have any questions, they should come to the app and ask them. We'll be happy to answer, take up their queries. Yeah.
Brilliant. I'm sure this platform is going to go a long way in sort of building inclusive spaces. And, inclusive, like you said, today Hinge is also inclusive, and a lot of places are trying to be inclusive, but something that is specifically created for a crowd and where they're not just treated as an add on. I'm sure it's brilliant, and I'm sure your approach of taking feedback so seriously from the community and, making even the development of the app inclusive is brilliant. And I think a lot of companies should take that model for whatever they're doing and for whichever community they're trying to exist in. Thank you so much, Sonali, for taking the time to talk
No
to us.
worries.
We are going to leave
Thank
all the links to as you are in our description, and we're also going to add their email ID. If you guys are interested in working with them, do reach out to them. I'm sure they will respond very quickly and they'll find something nice for you. In any case, a lot of the app also opens you up to opportunities, and I think it's worth checking out. So great. It was awesome talking to you, and we
Same
hope to
here.
talk to you again soon. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.